Yo, what's going on guys? I'm Maze, and welcome to my Pokemon Sun and Moon review series. Today I'll be reviewing episode 116, Lilie and the Secret Mechanical Princess. But first, let me know in the comments down below for today's question of the day what you personally thought of this episode. I'd love to hear. Alright, with that said though, let's jump into this review. Let's go! So the episode begins off with the usual kind of mornings at Ash's household. Well, meanwhile, Lilie and Gladion's morning actually begins with trying to search for evidence on Mohn's whereabouts, their father, by going through any of his old stuff. As previously in the series, Lilie and Gladion discovered that Mohn, who they thought had died, is still alive. Upon search of these documents though, Fabi shows Lilie and Gladion that he had found an old photo of him, Lusamine, Mohn, and Wick. Which, wow, Fabi used to be a right pimp back in the day. Dang, I feel so sorry for how the dude ended up now. Well, meanwhile, Wick is just looking wow. And I appreciate how Lusamine looked like Lilie back in the day. That's top-notch detail. I'm so glad we got to see these young appearances. But god, I can't get over Fabi. Man, what a downgrade. Moving back into the episode though, things are going to get less funnier. As Lusamine, who is currently in her office and knows Lilie and Gladion are trying to piece where Mohn could possibly be, is grieving over the loss of her husband once again. Even having a flashback very similar to the kind of style of episode 47's, which I might have that detail a lot, where it reveals that Mohn got sucked into an ultra wormhole they created. Which is, oof, kinda dark. I really feel for Lusamine here, but we'll get to how much sympathy I feel for her later on. As after remembering how happy Gladion was to inform her that Mohn is still alive, she decides to help her children out by showcasing them a special room he once had in Lilie's mansion. But there's absolutely no way I'm just gonna brush over how happy Gladion was in the flashback Lusamine had, and even in the next part of this episode. It's so heartwarming, as we never saw this boy smile before that, and even before he reconnected with Lusamine. This is fantastic development in his relationships and point of view of the world. I love Gladion, man. Anyway, Gladion upon entering the secret room though, immediately remembers that the flashback he had on Mohn stroke in his head had took place in this room, which is fantastic detail that more of this flashback gets revealed. In fact, this episode just has so much striking detail. But moving along anyway, Lusamine informs her children that she really wished she didn't neglect them after Mohn's disappearance. She was just caught up in a lot of grief, and she had never thought that he could still possibly be alive. Which Lilie then gives a stellar speech informing her that she shouldn't feel sorry whatsoever. In which Lusamine then runs into a hug with Lilie, stating thank you and how much she loves her, while also stating how much she loves Gladion, which makes him blush. Oh god man, I just love this development of the family so much. They used to be so disconnected back at the start of season 2, but now they're like this. It's just so heartwarming. This also reminded me how much I love each of their characters so much in the games and anime, being my favourites overall. We have to continue on with this story though, instead of just stating 100 reasons why they are the best characters ever. So, after this, Lusamine then informs her children, upon them finding a Z-ring, that Mohn used to be quite the great trainer back in the day. And the reason why he has so much books is because he loved to research and even read fairy tales, which is quite lovely. Eventually though, despite this deactivated Pokemon not being in the open, Lilie gets attracted to Magearna, a mythical Pokemon from a foreign land. In which, she finds out that Mohn got this Pokemon from a shop as he wants to give it to his princess, which is Lilie, due to the Pokemon itself being a princess. Which, aww, that's so cute. Oh, talking about cute, Lilie is also cute. Anyway, the reason why Lilie got to meet Magearna is because Mohn could never find a way to activate it, which would definitely inspire our characters to find it so hard later on. Which that is how you activate the Pokemon, placing it in the middle. Going back to the Z-ring though, Lilie expresses she wants to use this to help use her Z-move with Snowy, deciding to ask the island Kahuna Holler if she can, due to Z-ring users needed to be worthy of holding it. Plus, you know, it belonged to an old trainer, which Lusamine and Gladion thought this was a good idea. Which then continues on into the day, where Lilie indeed asks Tala with a mighty speech if she can use the Z-Ring, expressing she wants to become stronger. Her classmates and Kukui even coming along for a lesson, which Holla admired this speech and decides she can keep it if she pulls off a Z move with Snowy, which she accepts this offer. However, upon performing the pose for the Z move, Lilie failed to let out the Z move, which made her go to that first, until Ash and her friends cheered her on, expressing that if she continues training, she's bound to pull it off, which makes her happy, and Holla, even after witnessing how close she was to performing the Z move, allows Lilie to keep the Z ring, being a bit generous today, which makes our girl incredibly happy. Then expressing this to a deactivated Magearna after school, taking Mohn's wish of Magearna and Lilie being together at heart. Who Magearna, despite not having a soul heart yet, manages to hear Lilie. This ending the episode off. Though man, during the flashback we witnessed of Mohn obtaining Magearna for Lilie, I let out a tear, due to how beautiful that scene was. With that story now said though, let's now move on to my overall thoughts regarding this episode. Well, judging from some of my reactions already, such as letting a tear out towards the end, I definitely found this episode to be quite beautiful with its themes, even astonishing at some points, and even sets up future development and plot heavy episodes nicely for the future. In fact, before watching this episode and putting my current thoughts and theories aside to not let expectations take over me, I was quite excited to see this episode due to knowing one would be mentioned quite a bit, it being a Lilie-centered episode, which of course Lilie is my favourite character in the Sun and Moon series, and because she actually hadn't received her own episode in nearly 9 months. Myself waiting patiently for her story to continue. Yet, upon watching this episode, the episode was 2 times more intriguing and remarkable than I originally anticipated, before putting that aside. So, that alone should just show you how powerful this episode was within my eyes. However, of course with me being that Lilie fanboy, and even always wanted to dive into more detail regarding my thoughts, let's of course explore everything in a neat and tidy way to demonstrate the power even more that this episode radiated. So first of all, ignoring Lilie, one thing which quite surprised me about this episode is how it provided more story to Mohn's character. Myself thinking only small tidbits would be brought up, whereas the major plot points would appear in future episodes. But nope, this episode just dived right into how Mohn acted as a character, what he loved to pursue, and even how he disappeared. Which that incident, despite already knowing from the games what happened, was a very stupendous scene. Not only because of the way it was set up like I expressed earlier, but how it led into me feeling sympathy for characters such as Lusamine. Like, you could clearly tell that the reason why she invested so much time into her job, and pretty much neglected her children, ultimately then making the children not love her as much until later on, was because of the grief she felt over Mohn, which can occur when people cope with the loss of a loved one. Which indeed was quite mournful to watch, and it even really spoke out to me as somebody who has grieved over another very close to myself, and even allowed work to overtake my mind and body. This overall making me respect this plot point to a high degree, while also respecting Lusamine's character even more. The anime adaptation is truly the best version. Focusing more on Mohn's character alone again though, everybody just praising him within this episode even made me quite admire his character and his flashbacks, and even get excited for the inevitable day where we meet him. Which is quite shocking to say, as we haven't even properly met him yet. This again showing that this episode did wondrous joys at building his character and future arcs up. Moving along from Mohn now though, let's talk about what the main focus of this episode is meant to be according to the title, which is Magearna. As stated in the storytelling section, I found the whole meaning of Magearna to be incredibly sweet. And I feel like there'll be a pretty fascinating story in the future where Lilie receives the soul heart from Magearna and then makes Mohn's wishes come true. However, despite me quite fancying this story, some of the fanbase is pretty upset regarding this. And that is because either 1, this Magearna is not the same Magearna from movie 19, or 2, because the writers will end up letting Lilie take care of this Pokemon, or 3, because Mohn randomly found it in a shop, or 4, all of the above. Which I guess I can understand each point, because I'm 50-50 on 2 of them. However, I want to go over each of them to show you my perspective on things. Firstly, for it not being the same Magearna from movie 19, the movies have not connected to the anime ever since the original 5 movies, and I guess the choreo and the mystery of Mew due to Aura being brought up twice in the Diamond and Pearl series. So this does not affect me whatsoever, but I guess not everybody knew this. And even if the writers do say that the movies are canon, that doesn't change the fact that they haven't been mentioned in the anime since the original series and Diamond and Pearl. And even the fact that multiple mythicals and legendary Pokemon exist. I mean, come on, Ash has met 3 different legendary birds now. Nor would it make sense if it was the same Magearna in the anime, as she should be living in the lands Volcanion protects. So, again, I don't mind this. Moving into how Lilie is getting to take care of this Pokemon eventually though, I feel like this reason is more justified than the other, simply because the anime is pretty much handing out legendaries and mythicals at this point. Yet, I can't deny the fact that the story they made for Magearna is very sweet. So, to be honest, I'm 50-50 with the fanbase here. And as for that final reason, which is Mohn finding Magearna in a shop, to be honest, I found that very clever. Magearna clenched herself into a ball, so people would naturally get confused that it's an antique. Though I do kinda wish Lucemin's ancestors were the ones to make Magearna, as it's an artificial Pokemon, which would then get handed down for many generations in the Lucemin family. Or I'd even like it if one had created the Pokemon for himself. So I'd say I'm 50-50 on this as well, just because I believe there could have been a better way to obtain Magearna, as you can see. But regardless of that, altogether, even though there's some issues, I still respect Magearna a lot here. And I hope that if you saw some issues with it as well, you can learn to see why certain things were done and respect it more. Though, if not, then fair enough, we're all entitled to our own opinions. But that's personally how I feel about all of this. However, with that now stated, it's now finally time that I talk more about how I felt regarding Lillie's role in this episode. Like I mentioned earlier, it's nearly been 9 months since the last Lilie focused episode, which is understandable and fair, seeing as other characters desperately needed screen time. However, god damn, I've been waiting very patiently for another episode revolving around her, as I wanted Lillie's character to further, so we can finally get that goal reveal. In which though, thanks to this episode, the writers finally furthered her character more after that long wait, by giving her a Z-Ring, which is very satisfying as we sat down that long waiting for this episode, and obviously because we are now getting one step closer to that goal reveal, as the Z-Ring will bound to play a role in that. Not only that though, but the way Lilie had to prove she's worthy enough for a Z-Ring, aka attempted to use Sub-Zero Slammer on Harlow's Pokemon, was very appealing, as she shouldn't just be given a Z-Ring for no reason, especially if it belonged to her previous owner. You have to prove yourself. Now sure, Lilie failed to use the Z-move in the end, which got some people quite upset. However, I agree with Harlow. She at least showcased within her speech that she's very passionate about becoming stronger, so she should keep the Z-Ring to practice, especially because she was so close to actually pulling it off. Whilst trainers who actually have Z-Rings don't always perfect Z-moves on their first try as well. So, yeah, this is a very lovely twist and can make for great future development episodes. Let's face the facts as well. Lilie isn't exactly always confident in her abilities, so she should focus on always being confident to help her become stronger as well. Whereas Snowy has nearly reached that point. In fact, it might even be in Ninetales when we first ever get to see Sub-Zero Slammer, which would be so fulfilling to see both trainers have developed into such confident and strong trainers when they finally get to use this Z-move. This then being shown perfectly for the Alola League, which yes, I do believe that Lilie will compete after this. But overall, that now concludes all my thoughts on this episode's story. Hopefully you've been able to see why I believe they had such beautiful themes once expressing more of my thoughts. However, beautiful themes can also be stated for the music aspects of this episode, the next section of this video. As all the music in this episode was indeed beautiful. Like bro, we have a depressing tune during the instant scene, the XY hometown tune during the discovery of Mohn's room, I believe one of Lillie's themes during her speech to Lucemin, the mysterious tone during the Magearna reveal, which fits the Steel-type Pokemon very well, and the Black and White League music during the Z-move attempt, making the overall music in this episode be a sensational aspect, hence why I'm mentioning it. Though I can't say much for the animation apart from the usual things I say, which is kinda disappointing. However, when you wrap this entire episode up into a ribbon, it was just so fulfilling from start to finish. All these plot points intertwining into one as well. In fact, no, I'll go as far to say that this episode was rewarding. So if you haven't watched this episode yet, I recommend you do. However, if you have seen this episode though, then once again do let me know in the comments down below what you personally thought of this episode though. I'd love to hear, as we all do have different opinions. And with that said, that now finishes off today's review. So, if you enjoyed, then please be sure to consider leaving a like, a share, and if you're new here, a subscribe along with hitting that bell icon to stay in loop with all things Pokemon anime related. If you want to support this channel any further away, I also have a Patreon. Thank you for watching everyone, this is Entity Maze, signing out.